This podcast is made possible by the listener members of Nashville Public Radio.
This is the Nashvillager Podcast. It's April 28th, 2026, Workers' Memorial Day. This day is set aside by both the state and federal governments as a chance to honor the memory of people who died on the job in the past year. In our area, we've had some especially horrible workplace deaths in that time. There was the explosion last October, of course, the one that obliterated a building near Bucksnort and killed all 16 people who were inside. And the man was pinned between two forklifts at a construction site in East Nashville earlier this month. The tragic stories make the headlines, but the latest data from the state tells a more complicated story about workplace safety in Tennessee. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with context from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. There are a couple of state agencies concerned with physical dangers on job sites in Tennessee. There's TOSHA, the Tennessee Occupational Safety and Health Administration. It's focused on preventing injuries by enforcing safety rules. When something does go wrong and a person is hurt or killed, the Bureau of Workers' Compensation gets involved. And each year, that bureau puts out an annual report summarizing the cases that have landed in their lap. According to the most recent report, about 87,000 workplace injuries were reported to the state last year. That's an improvement, about 1,000 fewer than in 2024. And of those injured people, nearly three-quarters were able to go back to doing the same job. But the death rate rose by 1% last year. 108 Tennesseans died because of something that happened at work. The statistics show three industries were in pretty much a dead heat for the title of most hurt workers in 2025. The manufacturing, healthcare, and retail sectors each account for about 15% of the reported injuries. Now, that doesn't take into account the number of people who do that kind of work overall, so the rate of injury within one of those sectors could be very different from the other two. But they all had a significant number of problems last year. And the number one cause of injury is something all of those industries have in common: lifting. Whether it's construction materials, new stock that just came into a store, or patients that have to be transferred from a gurney to a bed, that's the kind of work task that can contribute to the most frequently reported type of injury: strain or tear. Now, interestingly, the report shows Tuesday was the day when people were most likely to get hurt at work last year. This is a Tuesday, so be careful. And yeah, I'm sure a psychologist could come up with some theory on why that's the case. But this report doesn't get into the causes. It just states the finding. The psychologist might also have a lot to say about who is getting hurt. Now, your assumption might be that it's mostly older workers whose bodies are starting to give out after years of wear and tear. But the largest group of claims, just over a third, are filed by workers between the ages of 18 and 35. Add in the next older group, folks up to 45 years old, and now you're looking at more than 60% of the reported injuries. Of course, this could reflect people moving out of jobs that carry risk as they get older. And it could be that those heavy lifting tasks are mostly assigned to the youngest, seemingly fittest people available. But bottom line, there are a lot of possibilities to get hurt in a wide range of jobs, no matter how young and fit you are. So taking safety precautions is always a good idea. And to go back to that first agency I mentioned, if you're concerned that you don't know the best ways of staying safe in your workplace, or you aren't sure your employer is handling things like they should, the TOSHA website does have resources that can help. And hopefully that information will help you avoid having to deal with the workers' compensation side of the state government. In just a few minutes, tending to Nashville's tree canopy in the first growing season after the ice storm. That's coming up after the newscast.
The justice system is complicated. I'm Paige Flager, and as WPLN's criminal justice reporter, I'm constantly asking, is the system working? And who is it working for?
The system is broken. I think it's more punitive than anything.
And this is not about justice anymore. This is about vengeance.
We're trying to get justice from a justice system that failed us.
How policies impact real people. Hear their stories here on WPLN News.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. It was a stormy night across Tennessee. Across the state, about 37,000 households and businesses are without power this morning at the time of this recording. Reports compiled by the National Weather Service show tree limbs fell on roadways in a number of communities from Berry Hill and Millersville to portions of Perry and Lawrence counties. Hail of an inch or larger was reported in Sumner and Dixon counties, and radar indicated there may have been a tornado near the Robertson-Davidson County line. People on the ground there say there are trees down and minor structural damage. In the aftermath of Winter Storm Fern, when hundreds of thousands of Nashvillians lost electricity, many asked the question, why can't we just bury the power lines? Could that prevent storm outages? So WPLN Cynthia Abrams sought out the answer for our Curious Nashville series.
The bottom line is that moving our cables underground is expensive, says Knoxville-based Wade Sexton. He's with the National Utility Contractors Association.
You're looking at $1 million to $2 million per mile.
So, with thousands of miles of power lines in Nashville, we're talking billions of dollars. And customers, along with their electric bills, would be on the hook for some of that.
You know, these utility companies, they're not profit centers. They don't generate any profit. They just pass everything through. The money's got to come from somewhere. It's got to come from the customers, the ratepayers.
And underground only really works if complete neighborhoods buy in. Otherwise, overhead power lines are still connected to the buried ones. And if part of a system goes down in a storm, the effort could be in vain.
You spent this money, you've done all this stuff, you've done everything you're right, to get your neighborhood put underground, but the next guy didn't, and your power's still out.
That's not to say that buried lines can't be a solution sometimes. Sexton says it's a good option for new construction, maybe just not a system-wide reset. Nashville Electric Service is dedicating $3 million towards an underground feasibility study. The utility also says it will pilot buried lines in 4 neighborhoods. Those locations will be decided next month. Cynthia Abrams, WPLN News.
To learn more about the possibility of buried lines, check out the latest Curious Nashville episode wherever you get your podcasts. Well, after 3 years, a high-profile lawsuit challenging Tennessee's near-total abortion ban was supposed to go to trial yesterday. It was going to span 2 weeks. But WPLN's Catherine Sweeney reports the Attorney General's office took advantage of a new law, and now that trial is canceled.
Tennessee's abortion ban has a carve-out for life-threatening emergencies, but many say the wording is vague, and that can be a problem when the medical staff is facing prison if a court later finds the patient wasn't in enough danger. Allie Phillips was among the patients who filed the lawsuit in 2023.
It's devastating because I got into this lawsuit because I didn't want anybody else to go through what my family did. It's traumatic.
Earlier that year, when she was 18 weeks pregnant, she learned the daughter she was expecting wouldn't survive after birth. The doctor said she could wait and miscarry or get an abortion somewhere else. Phillips went to New York City. There, she learned the fetal heartbeat had stopped and she was at risk for sepsis. That's the story she was going to tell at trial in a Davidson County court this week. But that plan was thwarted a few days ago. Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti used a new tool created by the General Assembly in March. That allows the AG to file an appeal at any time. Usually, there's a trial in lower court, then a judge makes a decision, then the losing side can appeal, then it goes to the higher courts. The new law says the AG can skip all that if someone is challenging a state law, and last week, that's what Skrmetti did.
The fact that we were 2 business days away and just by the snap of a finger, it's done. We're taken off the calendar. This is like a game to them. It's disgusting.
Nicholas Cabot is one of the attorneys representing Phillips and the other plaintiffs. He criticized the new law.
It's unfair to any litigant that would be in a similar situation, whether or not you're talking about guns, whether you're talking about abortion rights, whether you're talking about religious freedom. Any state in this situation shouldn't be allowed to do what the state has done here.
The early appeal option is new to Tennessee, but AG Skrmetti says it's not new to the legal profession.
There's nothing unusual about appealing an appealable order. The state law that allows this pretrial appeal mirrors federal law that's been in place since 1949.
The appeals court will review the history of the abortion case. Cabot says that could take a year. Catherine Sweeney, WPLN News.
Nashville officials are raising doubts about a bill state lawmakers passed to make Tennessee sheriffs work with federal immigration authorities. The bill's part of an immigration package the White House helped shape. If Governor Bill Lee signs the measure into law, sheriffs like Nashville's will have to agree to collaborate with ICE or risk losing state funding. The Tennessean reports such an agreement would come with additional duties, but not extra money. Such an arrangement would typically take a memorandum of agreement approved by Nashville's Metro Council. Mayor Freddie O'Connell says he's not convinced that's something the state can legally force. Williamson County is spending years and hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to decide what to do with its county-owned hospital. A recent law change might influence the decision. Until this year, if counties sold off their hospitals, they had to lock the money in an account meant only for health care. The General Assembly just removed that rule from big hospitals worth more than $500 million. That means if Williamson County sells, it will have more freedom in how to spend the money. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. Tennessee is not alone in recovering from the winter storm in January. Parts of Texas and Louisiana also saw downed trees by the thousands. And for this story, which first aired nationally on Morning Edition, WPLN's Caroline Eggers examines how Nashville is trying to rebuild its urban forest.
Jen Muirhausen walks up to a table to get her order.
Hey, how's it going? Hey. First name is Jen.
She's picking up native trees. Well, really, tree saplings. They're only a year or two old and look like thin, fragile twigs. Muirhausen carefully holds a young red oak and 2 elderberry saplings.
These are really tiny. I've never planted a tree this little, so I'm going to have to baby them and give them some good dirt to grow in.
This is a tree sale coordinated by a nonprofit called the Tennessee Environmental Council. Muirhausen intends to replenish what the ice storm took out.
We lost a bunch of trees at our house. Our neighbors lost a ton of trees, a bunch of branches. We actually just had our final branch cut down last weekend.
In just one night in January, some of Nashville's oldest trees died. It happened fast. Not just from wind, but from ice. Frozen water smothered every twig and branch. Before dawn, people woke to thunderous cracks as limbs and trees fell all over town.
We were in the house and we could just hear bombs hitting the roof.
That's Terry Cook. He's a local naturalist. In the days and weeks after, he surveyed damage across the 3,000 acres of Nashville's Warner Park, the city's largest. He used a drone to capture footage and counted. He estimated that 2,000 trees, mostly oaks, fell along pathways through the forest.
Which I think is really, it's an underestimate. You could either see that double or triple, quadruple in terms of when we think about the entire park.
He says the forest will largely heal itself over the next few decades, with some human help. Across town, city planners are replacing lost trees. The effort is led by city arborist Eric Keeler. He says they're very intentional about where and what to plant, in part because falling trees and limbs caused record power outages for as many as 500,000 people in Nashville. Some folks went without heat for 12 days. Keeler says they're also planting more varieties to get a resilient tree canopy, because in the last 5 years,
we've had tornadoes, we had inline winds, we've had flooding, but now we've got this ice storm. We just don't know when it's going to happen.
Ice storms are rare on the threat list, and scientists are working to understand whether climate change is making them more probable in southern cities. But this one caused the most damage to Nashville's trees. Joe Burketto, a longtime local naturalist, says some people may be spooked to plant big trees in their yards.
I spend so much of my time trying to soothe the fears of people about anything to do with nature, about bees and birds and critters and trees. And this is going to be hard to get people to want to plant trees again. But we have to do it.
3 months out, woody debris piles linger on neighborhood streets. And most trees that survived bear some scar from the storm. Nashville will know the full extent of the damage in 2028, when its next tree canopy assessment is due. For NPR News, I'm Caroline Eggers in Nashville.
We do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday, so subscribe in your favorite podcasting app to make sure you never miss an episode. And if you like this, you'll probably enjoy the Nashvillager newsletter, too. We got perspective from more of my colleagues at Nashville Public Radio and links to the stories we're following. Sign up for these daily emails at WPLN.org/NashVillager. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one. and we'll catch back up tomorrow.